Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. And it is a busy one in the world of sports. News out of New Orleans, news out of the West Coast, news out of Baton Rouge, stuff coming out of Tallahassee. We're going to hit it all over the next 2 hours. Glad you're hanging out with us. Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by Corks on Government Street. Get some late lunch or some dinner this evening. We'll talk with Brendan Sinone coming up in 15 minutes. Brendan covers Florida State. I do want just a brief kind of update on the start of Florida State's camp. Obviously, that's relevant here in Baton Rouge. But Florida State is very much in the middle of the news right now in talking about getting out of the ACC. And they're not like doing it behind closed doors. There are regions speaking up about the fact that they've got to get out of this league. I want Brendan's thoughts on that. We'll do that in 15 minutes. Sean Fazand down in New Orleans has been with the Saints for a long time in his career, but certainly since the start of camp. We'll talk to him at 1:30. Want to talk some LSU at 1:45. We'll talk with Michael Cauble at 2 o'clock. He's been out there both days for LSU football fall camp. We'll do some Meet the Freshmen in hour number 2. More LSU football to get to as well, and then the bombshell that was just dropped on college athletics with the news out west that Oregon and Washington are leaving. We're going to get to all of that, but I want to start with the local news of the day, and it's a huge story to me. It's a impactful story for the Saints franchise. It's a sentimental story for those of us who follow the Saints, and certainly those of you who are close or passionate fans of the Saints. Cam Jordan inked a contract extension this morning worth $27.5 million in guaranteed money over the next 2 years. This is a guy who was a first-round pick of the Saints in 2011, and it feels like this is going to be where he finishes his career. It's a great, great thing, I think, for the Saints because he's still playing well and because you just love those stories. I as a Cubs fan, I'm sitting here wearing a Cubs shirt today. Big game coming up in 18 minutes for the Cubbies. But as a Cubs fan, it was really emotional for me to watch Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant and Javi Baez and John Lester and all those guys move on to other teams after such a great run in the Cubs organization. And obviously none of y'all care about the Cubs, but you do care about the Saints, and Cam's had such a great run in that organization, and his contract was set to expire at the end of this year. And if you get in the middle of the season, there's a chance he gets to free agency and decides, I'm going to finish somewhere else and make a few more dollars. But the two parties sat down together, and Casey, if you'll play number one here, they worked it out because Cam Jordan belongs in New Orleans.
This entire essence of being drafted and being in New Orleans has felt like family and stayed like family. And I can't really see myself, luckily, I don't think I'll ever have to see myself being anything other than black and gold.
That's awesome. This is a guy who, as I mentioned, was a first-round pick in 2011. He has played 16 games every year of his NFL career, 12 straight years. Had a COVID miss, had the one game that he had to miss with the eye issue last year, but as dependable a player as there has been in the National Football League for over a decade. First team All-Pro in 2017. Second team All-Pro 2 different times. He's made 8 Pro Bowls. I don't put as much stock in that, but it's still a statistic you can throw out there. He's had 6 double-digit sack years. He's 32nd all-time in NFL history in career sacks. He's got more sacks than J.J. Watt, more sacks than Charles Haley, more sacks than Warren Sapp. If over the course of the next 3 seasons, which is what that contract runs through, he were to get 17 sacks, which is very attainable, he's done better than half of that the last 2 years, he would be in the top 20 all-time in the history of the league in sacks. This is an all-time great, and I'm so glad that his career is going to come to an end in New Orleans in the black and gold, and Cam talked about that today.
I mean, when I say Tom Brady, I don't want to have to go to a different franchise. You know, Tom was at the Patriots for 20 years. That's probably the most winningest quarterback you'll ever see, somebody who has 7 Super Bowl rings. I'm still hunting for my first one, but I wanted to be in building. I want a chance to be here. He went to Tampa Bay and won another one. That's good for him. That's his storyline. I'm just saying I'd want to finish my career here. I want my storyline to be here. I would love that my story has been drafted here, kept here, been here, never played a season without guaranteed money here. The story is to let it unfold, finish, and be here.
It just doesn't happen very much. Michael Jordan played somewhere else. Tom Brady played somewhere else. Willie Mays played somewhere else. I mean, I'm not suggesting that Cam Jordan is at the stature of those guys. Those are some of the greatest who have ever played their sport, and some would suggest the greatest to play all three. But there's something to be said for being Cal Ripken. And honestly, Cam Jordan that's maybe the best comp I can give you. An all-pro level player, which Cal was, who was there at work every single day. Some lean years, some great years, but wanted to be there. And that's what Cam Jordan is. And how motivating is that soundbite if you're a Saints fan to hear that? I don't want to play anywhere else. I want to be here, and I want to bring a championship here. This is not a guy who's trying to find the last dollar. Not a guy who thinks there may be a different situation somewhere else in the league that might be better for him. That's the entire NBA at this point. Cam Jordan says, no, I'm here, and this is where I want to be. And I'll tell you, when his time comes and his career is over, he's going to be a top 5 New Orleans Saint of all time, in my opinion. Now, I hadn't been here for the entirety of the Saints, and y'all know that there are some people at this station that follow it and have followed it longer, more closely than me. But when you get to the all-time greats, you pretty much weed out a lot. And in no particular order, you can take them as you will. I think most people are going to put Brees at the top. Perhaps the most impactful athlete in the history of the state. At that time, for that guy to come to this state and do that, I think that's pretty inarguable. And then you got Ricky Jackson and you got Willie Roaf. These are Hall of Famers. I don't think you have to debate that. And then I think you come to the next level after those three. And you've got Sam Mills, who's in the Hall of Fame and had an amazing run with New Orleans before some really good years in Carolina. You've got Archie Manning, who didn't win anything, but was a great player in the face of the franchise and never complained and went to work and got the hell beat out of him for the entire time he was in New Orleans. You've got Morton Anderson, who was an all-time great at his position. I would throw Jari Evans into that conversation, who we think is headed to the Hall of Fame, maybe. Was on a Super Bowl championship team, all-pro player. But Cam's in that conversation, to me, with Archie and Morton Anderson and Jari Evans and even Sam Mills. I rattled off the accomplishments. He was a first-team All-Pro. He was a second-team All-Pro twice. 6 double-digit sack years, 8 Pro Bowls. And most importantly, in this day and age, available every game, just about, for 13 years. His name will go in the Ring of Honor, and he's got a real shot, and I think is probably a favorite to go to the Hall of Fame. If he does what I talked about earlier in this segment and registers 17 more sacks and is in the top 20 all time, those are Hall of Famers. And I don't think Cam Jordan's a compiler. I think he's just consistently a 10-sack guy, just about every time you send him out there. He's an elite run defender. And now, in a post-Brees era, he's the face of the franchise. As Brees was phased out, Jameis wasn't the face of the franchise. Michael Thomas isn't the face of the franchise. He's been an All-Pro and Offensive Player of the Year in the league. He's not the face of the franchise. Alvin Kamara is awesome. He's not the face of the franchise. Right now, Derek Carr, no, he hadn't played a snap. Cam Jordan's the face of the franchise. It's Ripken-like in that way. So I thought today's story was just awesome because you just don't know until those deals get worked out, especially in a salary cap sport. In baseball, you got the owner. You want to make it work. Jeter, you're not necessarily what you once were, but you're not going to play for the Royals. What's the check? Okay. But in football, you got to make the money work. So you never quite know. If the Saints front office looked at this and goes, we need to get a little younger on the defensive front. We did that this year in the draft, and we're doing that in free agency as well. And we got to he's making a lot of money. We may need to allocate that to something else. That can happen. I'm thrilled that it didn't. And as a Saints fan, you should be too. I've said many times that I don't know that I expect Cam Jordan to have 20 sacks over the next 2 years like he's had over the past 2. Father Time wins every battle he fights. Some go down a little tougher, but he wins them all. And Cam Jordan feels like he's ready to roll, and the Saints value his play on the field and of certainly his leadership in the locker room. And that was on display with every quote he gave today. So we'll talk with Sean Fazan about that in 20 minutes, about what that was. He also heard from Alvin Kamara and Trevor Penning today. I want to get to that as well. But I think today, Cam Jordan, 2 years, $27.5 million guaranteed. He's going to go down, in my opinion, as a top 5 Saint all time. Awesome story out of New Orleans. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the website, corksfishandshrimp.com. Got the entire menu there. They got the big haul. You looking to feed a lot of people? A lot of fried catfish, a lot of fried shrimp, a lot of French fries, hush puppies. They can feed in bulk. You can get ready for your tailgate parties this fall with Corks, or just get them by for a late lunch. They'll get you through that drive-thru, or dine in the newly renovated dining area right there on Government Street. Love the folks over at Corks for being part of our Friday shows. Same folks that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue across the river in Port Allen, some Medinka brothers. Been in the restaurant game over 20 years. Corks is a new concept here that is awesome. So go on by and visit this weekend and tell them you heard about it on the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll come back after this timeout and chat with Brendan Sonnone. He covers Florida State. A lot going on in Tallahassee. Of course, fall camp, which matters for LSU because that's the opener, and a lot of drama in the ACC. That's all next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. Go visit it. You can request a free consultation. That is FREE free. Doesn't cost you anything for David Duvall and his team to come give you a free consultation. Whether it's with the bathroom, whether it's with the closet, they can take a look at what you've got, assess your needs as you describe them, and tell you what they can do for you. And I'll tell you this, if you're a listener to the Hunt Palmer Show, which you are, you can get 10% off. 10% off at One Bath and Closets if you do a bathroom remodel and a closet remodel. If you're going to do them both at the same time, it's not a great time to move, you want to kind of upgrade your living situation, 10% off, that's a pretty good start over at One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team have been in the game for 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can help you out if you go to onebathandclosets.com. You see the testimonials, you see pictures of their great work. As I mentioned, you can get that free consultation. Onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. LSU back on the practice field. It's day 2 of fall camp. We'll have a camp report. And the Saints are back on the practice field. Join us Friday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our TVs in studio pretty much stay on ESPN unless there's something we need to flip over to watch. And ESPN today is turning into the Ocho, which is the play off the dodgeball line where they're the Ocho. They're playing. Well, they have like all these obscure sports. I'm up there. They're playing kickball on ESPN, like serious adult level kickball on ESPN. That's a special time of year here in early August. But there's a lot going on in our world of sports, and we're going to learn a little bit about the Florida State Seminoles as well as what's going on with the ACC. So go to Jim's Firearms Hotline, bring in our guy Brendan Sonnone, who covers Florida State for 24/7. Did some chatting with Brendan last year, and we'll start it up again this year. Thanks so much for your time, Brendan. How are you, man?
Oh, absolutely. I'm doing well, getting excited. Going to head out to fall camp myself here in about an hour or so. So it's the season.
Nice and cool in Tallahassee like it is here in Baton Rouge?
Brutal. Awful.
There's ways around it, but it's tough. Let's talk about the Florida State team this year before we get into the madness that is realignment. Are the vibes different on August the 4th this year than they were August the 4th last year in Tallahassee?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is pretty clear why with what we've seen this program, how far it's come in the span of a year and how far it came from the year before that. So, like, as we're putting like context to what FSU, what the expectations are this season, and like how the team's feeling, I think so much of it stems from like for me, like what I can sense with this program is people around the program are extremely optimistic and confident and carry themselves with a lot of swagger. Makes sense coming off a 10-win season, but I give a lot of credence to people that we talk to daily within the program of them having confidence because 2 years ago, before the 2021 season, they shot us pretty straight and said, we might be okay this year, 5, 6, maybe 7 wins. That's ultimately where they landed in with 5 wins. And then last year they said, we're going to be better. We're not sure how much better, but yes, like our depth is better, experience, leadership, guys buying in, and they were better, much better, 10 wins. So, yeah, FSU feels very good about where it's at this year. There's a lot of optimism. Easy to understand why when you see the team walk into practice. And I know it's hype season. I know it's line season. But it does look like what a Florida State football team should look like and what I'm used to covering from earlier in my career.
How big was last year in the Superdome for this program?
Huge. I don't think we're at this point where we're talking about FSU being a possible national title contender. We're not talking about what the game in Orlando this year means for both programs in terms of a potential early season kind of playoff deal. Mike Norvell, while I think he is a very good coach, he needed some level of, I don't want to say buy-in because I think boosters were bought in. I know there was noise going into the season they weren't, but that was not real. That was fabricated. I feel like there's a lot of confidence in him, and I think players had a lot of confidence in him. But at a certain point, you do have to have proof of concept, right? And you need to win some marquee games, and you need to find ways to have people continue to buy into your messaging over a long period of time. And if you found a way to lose that game, a game in which you probably should have won based on how it went throughout the entire time, if you found a way to lose at the end, I don't know if FSU finds a way to get to 7, 8, 9 wins this past season. Like, I think that propels you, gives you more confidence in yourself, and allows guys to buy in. So, yeah, it was a really, really big deal.
One of the biggest reasons Florida State won that game was the play of Jordan Travis, specifically on third downs. LSU fans probably watched that game and then may not have watched Florida State again the rest of the way. How was Jordan Travis throughout the rest of the season after they left the Superdome?
He was great. That was his coming out party, and he's someone who played well at the end of the 2021 season. We had a lot of confidence in him, collectively at Bulls 24/7, covering him because of what we saw that trend looking like at the end of the year. FSU got him some better talent around him, and we expected him to make a jump. I remember going out on – it's crazy to think about now, but I remember going out on a limb last offseason saying that I think he could be a top 25 quarterback nationally. And that was considered a kind of a bold take at that point, and got a lot of pushback for it. He ended up having a really good season. He was second team All-ACC. PFF had him as the number 1 rated passer in the Power 5. I think the ESPN QBR had him right around there as well. So, like, there was a lot of ways you can measure how good he was last year, but they all kind of said the same thing. Like, he was an upper echelon quarterback. So it wasn't just LSU he played well against. He played very well for most of the season, showed a lot of growth as a passer, and frankly, he exceeded my expectations. And he looks good this spring, and we'll see how he looks in camp. But the expectation is that he continues to progress forward.
When we talk in 3 or 4 weeks before the actual game, we'll get into some actual X's and O's. But let's just go big picture here as we start, Cam. Biggest question on offense, biggest question on defense that Mike Norvell is looking to get answered over the next 4 weeks.
So the first thing that came to mind, let's go on defense first. And the question I have is whether Darrell Jackson gets a waiver or not. He is a transfer from Miami. He started every game last year at defensive tackle for the Hurricanes and was a pretty high-end contributor the year before from Maryland as a true freshman. So he's only transferred twice. He transferred to be closer to home. He's about 30 minutes outside of Tallahassee. Mom has a chronic illness, and that's been fairly well documented. But here we are in early August, and FSU still having a final word from NCAA on what that waiver process is going to look like. As he goes further and further along, into July, I was like, okay, we'll see. Should be okay. FSU's optimistic, but now here we are in early August. He's someone who's either going to start for FSU this year if he plays, or be a major contributor. And his size, he's like 6'6", 330 pounds, against the likes of an LSU, of a Clemson, these high-end, big, beefy offensive lines. You're going to need him, and that is an unknown. That's a thing to watch right now. As far as offense, I'm going to be focusing a lot on offensive line continuity. They returned 5 guys with starting experience from last year, bring in 3 transfers with multiple years of starting experience, and they also have a couple of promising underclassmen in Jalen Early and Julian Armella, former Blue Chippers. And so they have 10 guys who I think they feel pretty good about. How are they going to make it all work together? Who's going to play where? It's a legitimate competition for about 4 out of the 5 spots on the offensive line. So that could be a position group that ends up being a strength for this team, but the way it looks and how it kind of shakes out, that's definitely not known early on in camp.
Chatting with Brendan Sonnone, beat writer for the Knowles 247 for the 24/7 network over there in Tallahassee. All right, let's talk about the big picture stuff here with realignment. We know that the bombshell was dropped today with Oregon and Washington leaving for the Big Ten. And it sounds like there's a lot of upheaval in the ACC with this long granted rights agreement, and Florida State has been the most vocal school, at least from where I'm sitting. What can you tell us about Florida State and their feelings on the ACC as we sit here today?
Yeah, so the Board of Trustees meeting, which I think you were kind of referencing with them being vocal, and I'm not sure how much you guys have documented it on your show. Have you talked about it much?
Not really, no. I think everyone's generally aware, but as far as quotes or people, or no, you can peel that back for us.
Cliff Notes version of it is that FSU had a Board of Trustees meeting a couple days ago, and towards the end of it, the president of the university spoke out and basically said, I'll paraphrase here, but said something amongst the lines of, I don't know if we can keep staying in the ACC. We would love to, but the way things are going financially and all those points and financials have been laid out, we might have to leave. And then there was kind of a parade of other trustees and people there saying, well, this is why that's a probably good idea, and that's why we should leave. And this is why staying is bad. And so it was basically choreographed for FSU to go ahead and start getting ducks in a row to potentially leave. Now the question becomes, is that a bit of smokescreen leveraging points that you're trying to have if you're Florida State to try to get ACC to get off the pot one more time and change revenue distribution? That's where the whole issue is for Florida State, is they think they earn more money, or no, they do earn more money, excuse me, than most other programs in the conference do, stands like Clemson, and they get paid the same amount, and they're saying that had been okay before, but not now that the TV deal is netting less and less money comparatively to SEC and Big Ten schools. So that's the long and short of it. FSU has basically said, it's time to start panicking. It's time to start moving forward. Like, the alarms have been officially sounded. Now, whether that means FSU has the ability to leave the ACC, they do financially, but do they then have the ability to challenge the grant of rights, which is their TV rights for the next 13 years? And that's where really things get interesting. Now, their Board of Trustees member, Chairman Peter Collins, told our competing outlet War Chant that the grant of rights wouldn't be a sticking point for them ultimately, but we'll believe it when we see it type of deal is how I feel, because of that, everyone for such a long period has said that it is. Seems like it's something that'll eventually go to court if FSU does leave, or at least to litigation. There's a lot going on, and the stuff that happened with the Pac-12 today, I think, is ultimately in FSU's favor. I think FSU probably would be hopeful that more chaos would keep happening and more things would be unsettled. It shows that the Big Ten is willing to expand and is open. It does kind of send a message to the ACC, like, hey, if you sit still, you don't take care of your valued members, if you don't start changing the way you do things, you will die on the vine, which is what will happen to the Pac-12 or 7 or whatever it is right now, and maybe at the end of the day to the Pac-5 or 4.
Yeah, I'm looking up at ESPN right now, and I just saw across the bottom line Arizona has agreed to join the Big 12. So, I mean, the Pac-12's toast. It's a matter of months. So I'm curious as to how the fan base feels about all this. I mean, the people that make the decisions have to make the decisions, but I also sympathize with, like, fans who are sitting here caught in limbo. I was talking about the Oregon State fans on my show yesterday. It's like their whole athletic program just died. I can't even imagine. So what's the sense of the Florida State fans at this point?
The fan base pretty generally wants out of the ACC. And there's been this disconnect for a very long portion of time where FSU fans have felt that they're not valued proportionately by the ACC. And I'm not even just talking about a dollar and cents thing. I'm talking about the way the conference promotes the program, the way they like prop up some others on Tobacco Road. That's been a long source or a long time source of consternation and frustration from the fan base. And I think I feel where they're coming from on it. I do. It is not something like the ACC has been proactive in trying to keep Florida State happy. And I understand the other points, like, well, you agreed to this contract and you're falling in line with it like everyone else is, but Florida State's not going silently into the night. I think the fan base is very excited about that. Now, if that trickle down of some of the litigation or whatever comes from financially of leaving the ACC, if that does happen, if that trickles down to the fans, with ticket prices or other things, maybe that would change their mind. But I do think it's pretty clear right now that the FSU fans want out of the ACC. They've been open to it for a while, and now it seems pretty generally that they're cheering for another destination. Where exactly they want to land is where it's a little bit more split, but I think almost every FSU fan to a T wants out of the ACC.
It's a whole new world, and we're just sitting here watching it as it unfolds. Brendan, thanks so much for your time. We'll catch up in a few weeks for the big game.
Awesome. Sounds great.
He is Brendan Sonnone, covers Florida State for Knowles 247, part of the 24/7 network. We'll take another time out, go down to New Orleans, chat with Sean Vazan about Saints camp. That's next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thankfully, no storm in the Gulf right this second, but we know that can change pretty quickly around here. And don't let your home be without power for a significant amount of time, whether you're in it or not. You can change that. Boudreaux's Electric can help you out. They're family-owned and operated and have been for 40 years by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux. They're a certified Generac dealer. And it's not just that. They're a premier Generac dealer, which means they're in the top 3% of all dealers in the country. They've got a full-time staff. They're not contracting anybody out to install your home generator. They have some that can power your entire house. They have some that can just power some of the things that you want. They customize their generators per customer. Have them come out and do a consultation for you. They can install a home generator. So if you're at home, whether it's a big storm, a hurricane, or just one of our afternoon showers that tends to send the power in and out, you can prevent that with a Generac home generator. And if you do have to evacuate your home, why not have a generator there that's helping run your security system and run your refrigerator and make sure your house is safe and your fridge doesn't have everything in freezer spoil? Plus, part of the deal they've got there at Boudreaux's Electric, they've got a monitoring system. They can tell if your generator fails or if your generator is not ready to roll, and then they can come out and fix it before a storm comes in. Boudreaux's Electric, same phone number they had for 40 years. Get your phone out, put this number down, and have Neil and Melissa Boudreaux come out and assess your property. It's 985-397-1562. It is Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want.
Charles Hanniger joined Jimmy Ott and myself for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Bruley. Short drive over the bridge. We're recapping the weekend and week 2 of LSU camp. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live radio is live radio. Sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. In this instance, they have. We've got some breaking news from, I guess, New York or New Orleans, whichever way you want to slice it. Alvin Kamara's suspension has been levied by the NFL. He will miss 3 games to start the New Orleans Saints season. To talk about it, we bring on our guest, Sean Fazand of Fox 8 down in New Orleans. Sean, thanks so much for your time. How are you?
Doing all right. Busy Friday down here in New Orleans, but glad to have the news of Alvin Kamara's suspension finally out.
For sure. It's a busy Friday out west in the Pac-12. It's a busy Friday here in Baton Rouge, and certainly a busy Friday down here in New Orleans. That's good for us. A lot of content here.
Mm-hmm.
Your initial reaction when you see 3 games?
My initial reaction is I'll take it. If I were in the Kamara Saints camp, I think everyone had pretty much accepted the fact that he was going to take a suspension. And 2 things that were really they really wanted. One was to get it done early in the season, and that's obviously going to happen. And B, obviously, to have as few games as possible. I was honestly in the neighborhood of 4 to 5 game suspension. So to come out with 3, I think that's they'll take that. The Saints will, and so they got it done early, at least for the beginning of the season. And to only have 3 game suspension, I think that's a pretty good thing for the Saints.
Yeah, I think there were some that once the felony charges were dropped, I think everybody kind of stopped. 4 was kind of the max. Some people were floating around 2. I said 4. I think 3 makes some sense. The Saints will start the season against Tennessee, and they're at Carolina, rookie quarterback, at Green Bay, a quarterback who hasn't played a game yet. So your thoughts on the way the Saints look in the backfield for those 3 games without Alvin Kamara?
I think they match up still fairly well. Jamal Williams is a guy that's they trust a lot, a veteran that they signed in the offseason, really endeared himself to his teammates. And then the rookie, Kendre Miller, is certainly a guy, especially in the last, say, 3 or 4 practices, is really, you can certainly see an uptick in his play. So that's a couple of guys they'll rely on. Be very curious to see who they keep or how they manage the roster with Alvin Kamara because, obviously with the suspension, they're going to have to have someone else, in that spot. So I'll be curious to see if anyone on the roster is able to, to step up, like, Benjamin or any other player, Merriweather, whoever the case may be that's on the roster right now. Or, as always, they could look, elsewhere around the league, when that final cut-down day happens. But I think for the most part, they can manage without Kamara for those first 3 days. It's not ideal, but they got to do what they got to do. So I think overall they feel pretty good about where they stand.
I know you join Matt Moscona frequently on After Further Review, and Matt's been fairly adamant that he thinks Kendre Miller is the heir apparent to Kamara's spot and that this will be Kamara's last year with the New Orleans Saints. Do you have a thought on that?
I don't know if it's the last year. I know he's just turned 28, and he's getting into the part of his contract where those discussions can certainly come up. I know this. You can talk about having the next Alvin Kamara, but until you have it, you don't have it.
Yeah.
So, and I think this year you're going to see a little bit more of that dual threat role with him that you saw in the first 3 years of his career when he was getting, 80 to 85 receptions a season as opposed to the last couple where he really had to carry the load on the ground, north of 220-plus carries. So I think you're going to see probably the carries dip a little bit and the receptions go up a little bit, and which is really what he's best suited for in that role. But to the original point with Kendre Miller, I think he gets on the field early. I really do. I think the Saints like him. I think he's really shown kind of the football IQ to learn this offense. It's not easy for a rookie. I've seen rookies come through this the first week of camp, and their eyes and their head is just swimming just because of all the complexities within this offense. He seems to be in a good spot mentally, and obviously he's doing well on the football field, and he's healthy. So I don't know if he replaces Alvin Kamara next year. I think he can be a future star, but I think he does get on the field pretty quickly within this offense.
Chatting with Sean Fazand, Fox 8 down in New Orleans, talking Saints. Y'all heard from Alvin Kamara today. Anything that stood out from that conversation? Obviously, that was pre-suspension.
Yeah, quite a bit. First off, we weren't expecting it. He wasn't on the list to talk today, so we weren't expecting him to open up, and open up he did. Basically the message was I was wrong. I was embarrassed. I embarrassed my family, my city, my team, my family, my mother, all that stuff. I mean, he opened up, was pretty contrite about everything, even dropped the Tony Dungy line of, nothing good happens after midnight. So he seemed pretty contrite about the whole situation. He's had a long time to think about it. I mean, a really long time when you talk about, this was late January, early February of 2022. So I think more than anything though, contrition obviously, but he's relieved that this is over. And honestly, the entire organization is relieved that this is over, just because it kind of been hanging over them for quite some time. And an otherwise really good offseason and really good start of training camp, this has always been sort of out there. Now this question has been answered, and now they can sort of go on about their business, adjusting to life without him for the first 3 weeks, and then when he comes back, reacclimating him back into the offense.
You also heard from Trevor Penning today. If you're talking about guys on this roster who are the most important this year, once you get beyond Derek Carr, Trevor Penning comes up pretty quickly. What did you hear from him today?
Yeah, he was, I actually opened up the press conference with just say, hey, where are you at now as compared to last year when he was just sort of this huge offensive lineman, but very raw and coming from obviously a small school. He said, he's light years ahead. The game has slowed down for him, so he's a little more comfortable in what he's doing. The obvious thing for him is to stay healthy. Knock on wood, he's mostly done that. And I'll tell you, he had one of his best practices today. I really noticed him today, not just run blocking, pass blocking as well, which is always going to be the thing you have to worry about with him, just given his size and his, he's got kind of heavy feet. But run blocker, he pile drives guys into the ground. But pass blocking, he's got to have a little more technique and a little more lateral movement. I thought today he really showed that. And the thing is, with Andrews Pete out, he's getting all the first-team reps at left tackle, and it's been mostly James Hurst getting left guard reps, and it's kind of this three-way battle for two positions with Penning, Hurst, and Pete on that left side. But with Pete out, and actually Hurst was out today with a veteran day off, Penning has gotten a ton of reps at left tackle, which is exactly what he needs. He needs as many reps as possible. So I think he's, possibly turned a corner a bit in his pass blocking.
One more here, Sean. Your time appreciated on this Friday. Defensive line, first-round pick, second-round pick, and two notable free agent acquisitions. What can you tell us about this overhaul early in camp? I know they hadn't strapped the full pads on and gone after it where you would really notice the defensive lineman, but anything of note with those four players?
Yeah, I felt like the physicality up front when the pads came on picked up a little bit, which is exactly what you want to see. Brazil has mixed in quite a bit with the first team, and you can tell, especially pass rushing, he's got sort of, he's got some pass rush moves. He's refined for a rookie, and it's just getting used to the physicality. I think probably got a little ways to go when it comes to defending the run, but I think that will certainly come when he gets a little seasoning. Isaiah Foskey, I got to be honest, is he needs some work. He's not there yet. He's just not, and that's okay. It's a rookie. It's a defensive end. The physicality is different at this level, but. I mentioned Trevor Penning earlier. One of the guys he took to the ground was Isaiah Foskey today. So he's just got to get used to the physicality and probably got to get a little bit better technique. He's just not there yet. He'll get there eventually. He's not there yet. It's 8 practices in his rookie year. It's fine. But I still think he has a little ways to go. But the guys that have really stepped up defensive end-wise have been Granderson and Turner. That's a heck of a battle that I'm not sure I could say a winner or a leader right now. I mean, Granderson's got the majority of the first-team reps, but those two guys have really competed and brought the best out of the others. So that's been a pretty good battle to watch.
Sean, thanks so much for some time. I know it's a busy Friday. I'll let you get back to work.
All right, man. No problem.
Sean Fazan, Fox 8 down there in New Orleans. Busy day at Saints camp. Cam Jordan signs an extension. Alvin Kamara suspension is levied by the NFL. If you're just catching us, 3 games for Alvin Kamara. He'll be back in Week 4 for the Houdat's. Who do they have in Week 4? I mentioned the teams that he will miss. He's going to miss the opener home against Tennessee. Then they're at Carolina, at Green Bay, and he'll return Week 4, a noon kickoff in the Superdome against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if you just missed it, Alvin Kamara, 3 games by the NFL. We'll come back, close out hour number 1 next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center right here in Louisiana. This collaboration is going to provide cancer patients in our region access to treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. They're customized to individual people. We're going to have access to MD Anderson's protocols and practice standards, as well as their specialists and their researcher. Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center is going to offer groundbreaking research and innovative therapies. They're going to offer access to some select clinical trials to eligible patients. It is such a great, great thing in our state to have the resources of Ochsner and MD Anderson working together to help fight cancer. It affects all of us at some point in our lives. They're going to offer expert care in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and in Baton Rouge. Auctioner and MD Anderson are going to work together to create some additional sites in the future, which is amazing news for our state. If you want to learn more about Auctioner MD Anderson Cancer Center, you can go to auctioner.org. That is auctioner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. LSU back on the practice field. It's day 2 of fall camp. We'll have a camp report. And the Saints are back on the practice field. Join us Friday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
How does this sound? Baked potato, covered in crawfish etouffee, and topped with golden fried shrimp. Doesn't sound like a drive-thru, does it? They got that at Corks. Corks, Cajun fish and shrimp. If you're somebody that says, I'm from South Louisiana, I'm not going through a drive-thru to get my fried seafood. Promise you. Check out Corks. This is not your national brand coming down here and slinging frozen seafood. Cork's recipe was born in the seafood capital of the world. That's right here in South Louisiana, and it is fantastic. The Gulf shrimp are huge. The catfish is not fishy. It's not muddy. It's crispy and clean and delicious. And right there on Government Street. Brand new concept here in Baton Rouge, and we are fired up to have them as a part of our Friday shows. Check out that menu at corksfishandshrimp.com. One storyline has kind of snuck up here over the first couple of days at fall camp with me for LSU It's not one that I anticipated, and quite frankly, it's one that I forgot about since it started. It's a player. And it's not a player that when I was going through the depth chart in my head that I ever think about. I'm bad about Kyron Lacey at wide receiver. I'm bad about him. And he's going to be a big piece. I think he's the number 2 receiver right now, maybe number 3 behind Brian Thomas, but that's not what I'm talking about. The one on the defensive side of the ball that I don't get to when I'm talking about impact players is Andre Sam. And there may be some of you listening that don't know who Andre Sam is. And that's reasonable. He's one of these transfers in. It was late, and he's kind of bounced around a little bit. He played for Frank Wilson at McNeese. He started there as a freshman in 2017 when he redshirted. He's from Iowa High School down there in southwest Louisiana. Went to McNeese, redshirted in 17, played in 3 games in 18, started 12 games in 19. Then they didn't play in 20, and they played that spring season in 21, and he played the 7 games there as a starter. Then he played as a senior in 2011. Then he went to Marshall as a super senior last year. He played in 12 games. He started 10 of them. Started the first 9 of the year, had 53 tackles for Marshall, 5.5 for loss, 7 pass breakups, had an interception. And then he was going to transfer to Tulane. And then he ended up at LSU. Now, if you want me to sit here and tell you how he could start in 2017 and still be eligible to play in 2023, I would have a hard time with it. If you want me to tell you how he's transferred like 2.5 times, I've lost track of that since COVID started. So I'm not going to worry about it. I just don't know. I know he's here and he's eligible and he's going to play. Now, Greg Brooks and Major Burns are going to be your starters, but Andre Sam is right there in the mix. And if there's an injury somewhere, they need to move Greg Brooks down to play some nickel because he's played some there and they need to fill in there. Like, Kylan Jackson and Ryan Yates are going to be behind Andre Sam. Andre Sam's 23 years old. Those kids are 18. So he's going to be a player on this team. You turn on the tape from Marshall, and one thing is apparent. I'm not going to break down the coverage skills and how quickly he flips his hips and all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you this. Turn on the tape. He ain't afraid to hit somebody. He'll fly in there and just wreck his body to knock somebody out. He's 6 feet, 195 pounds, and he's 23 years old. And he has had a life with some challenges. If you saw this, Shay Dixon posted it on the On3 message board. You may have seen it on YouTube. He lost his father and his grandfather at 6 years old in the span of a few months. And during that traumatic time, a significant stutter developed for him. And he's fought that for 17 years. His older brother, he lost over the course of that time. And it's basically him and his mom. And he had a tough time leaving his mom to go to Marshall because she's kind of been his security blanket. It's tough for him in social situations because of the speech impediment that he's got. But he's addressed it head on. And there's a great YouTube video that he did at Marshall where he's interviewed by one of the great employees there at Marshall and talking about the challenges that he's had with his speech impediment. And he gets through it and he says, I've got a message for some people that like don't stop talking if you have this issue. You got to keep pushing forward. He says, I'm unique and I'm glad that I'm the guy that I am. And it's just a powerful story. It's a story of adversity. But this is a kid from Southwest Louisiana who's fought his way up to play at LSU. I got chills talking about it. And this is not a story that I knew. If you haven't seen that, I'd suggest go to YouTube and check it out. It's from his days at Marshall, and it's a powerful deal. And this is not a guy that's just got a spot on the team because they had an extra one and Frank feels bad for him. This guy's going to play, and I think he's going to play against Florida State. I think he's going to play on special teams, and he's a reserve right there behind that core group of secondary. And there's not much set in the secondary. Major Burns going to start. Greg Brooks going to start. After that, I think there's a lot of competition, and Andre Sam is very much right in the middle of that. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how that progresses this fall. I have not thought about Andre Sam all summer. That's going to change as we move forward because he's very much in the mix as an experienced guy who they're going to count on at parts of this season. So I wanted to get that out here to close out hour number 1. Big hour here. We started things off talking about Cam Jordan's legacy as he inked a new 2-year extension that's going to put him in New Orleans for the duration of his career. Talked to Brendan Sonnone of Knowles 247 about Florida State's team first, and then also what's going on with realignment in Florida State as they're looking for any way out of the ACC they can find it. Sean Fazan came on to talk about the Alvin Kamara suspension announcement. 3 games for the Saints running back. He'll be back for week 4 and then a little LSU football. When we come back after Sports Center, we're going to chat with Michael Cobble of WBRZ about LSU camp. He's been there both days. We'll also meet the freshmen and then get to realignment bombshells out west over the last 2 hours. Come back after Sports Center on Palmer Show.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter. I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Pete Thamel reports Oregon and Washington are finalizing a deal to join the Big Ten next summer. A Big Ten vote on that move could come tonight. Thamel also reports Arizona will join the Big 12, although that deal is not finalized yet. Will the Pac-12 survive all this? ESPN's Adam Rittenberg.
There's going to be more meetings. There's going to be more discussions. There's negotiations going on. Maybe between some schools and multiple leagues in the case of a school like Oregon. And then we'll see where this thing shakes out and how long it takes to reach some type of resolution.
The Big 12 is also ramping up talks with Arizona State and Utah. Saints running back Alvin Kamara and Colts cornerback Chris Lammons each get 3-game suspensions for their part in a fight outside a Las Vegas nightclub last year on the night before the Pro Bowl. Adam also reports Saints defensive end Cameron Jordan will sign a 2-year, $27.5 million extension. His contract will now run through the 2025 NFL season.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. A lot of football in hour number 1, a lot of football in hour number 2. We'll meet the freshmen coming up in 15 minutes, but we're going to head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline to begin hour number 2. That's where we'll find Michael Cauble of WBRZ. Mr. Cauble, how are you?
Doing well, Hunt. How are you doing?
I'm quite well. You've been out there a couple times watching a little football. Any overriding theme that you've seen, or just another fall camp cranking up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the overriding theme so far. Is just that it's early. Everybody looks good. Everybody looks big. Everybody looks fast, right? So early, everybody's undefeated. No, I mean, I will say, like, it was a little bit of a heat check yesterday watching the secondary get torched.
Yeah.
That was definitely a little surprising with the degree to which it was, and so I asked BK about that, and he said that's kind of just the way it goes with those drills. And it was true, because when they got into more team kind of drills, the secondary, I won't say held their own, but they certainly improved. So that was definitely somewhat surprising, though, yesterday. Other than that, I would just say kind of the general theme of, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that LSU's getting a lot of love right now. They look the part.
And for those that are driving and listening to us going, wait, the secondary's getting torched? I'll put a little context, as Colville said, that Brian Kelly said. It was one-on-ones with no defense, and the quarterback had no pass rush, and it's just one-on-one, and they're running slants and stuff, and the DBs were just getting worked. It was like an 85% catch.
It might have been higher than that. The only things that were non-catches were drops. But I mean, like, they were just getting smoked off the line. And yeah, I mean, you could certainly see why LSU, likes their slot receivers and has a lot of confidence in them. But tight ends, I mean, second string, third string tight ends were giving them work. It was a sight to behold. It was just like, oh, maybe these 12-win seasons might need to pump the brakes a little bit. But it's early, and that's the point, I guess, that we're making is some people are figuring it out. Some people already have it figured out. Luckily for LSU, I think there's a lot more in the figured out column than figuring it out.
I realize we got to put the cameras away after 15 minutes, which is y'all's like the main thing that you've got. But do you feel like you're able to provide a little bit more in your sportscast because of the access Brian Kelly is giving?
Absolutely. And I think it was one of the issues that Ed Ogeron suffered from, really, and probably every coach. There is this expectations that come along with every new season, in that everybody's great. They all know what they're doing, and this team's going to go undefeated. But when you get to watch a full practice, you understand that there's some things they need to work on. There's some deficiencies, some areas, just some general putting it together of how this is supposed to operate, where everyone's supposed to line up. You see a lot more of those issues. And so it kind of pulls you back down to earth a little bit more. So while I don't necessarily think we learn anything different or new by watching a full practice, it gives you a lot more context to what you kind of see. And I think that's important when you build that overall picture of how good can this team be.
In your time here in Baton Rouge, you've covered Jacob Hester, and you've covered Charles Scott, and you've covered Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis and Jeremy Hill, and like pro running backs that have been out there. In this year's team, I think the first guy to get a carry against Florida State is going to be Josh Williams. What do you make of his story?
I think that there's a lot to be said about guys like Josh Williams and their importance to every team. We saw it with the baseball team this year. LSU needs Gavin Dugas, Kay Beloso on their team. They need Josh Williams. They need guys that understand the importance of working for everything they get. And I think that is a guy that exemplifies that. And I think it's important and useful when coaches hold guys like that up as the standard and the expectations for everyone else. And I also think it's important when you reward them with first touches. It may be ceremonial, but I don't give a crap because it sets the tone and lets everybody understand this is important in this program. And not to say that people like that are not talented, because they wouldn't be where they are without talent. But they are also, spotlighted because they have talent, they have integrity, they have grit, they have character, they have all of the things that make hard work pay off. And I think they're shining examples of everything that's great about college sports.
Would you place your first nickel on him to be number 18?
I hadn't really thought about it. I think you could certainly do worse than that. It would probably be a safe bet. But it's funny. I hadn't thought about the 18 yet. I don't know. I don't know. Do you have any other front runners that you could?
Major Burns has been around now for a year plus, and he's kind of the captain of the secondary.
I think Omar Speight has a shot. I mean, they really like him, and everything he's done certainly seems to be the right way of doing things. So, is he too new? Does it have to be a Louisiana guy? I don't know.
I don't know either. Let's fast forward to January, and you'll have to kind of fill in the blanks between here and there.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, how do you think Jaden Daniels' legacy is going to look when he's done at LSU, when you stack him up with the quarterbacks we've seen over the last 20 years?
It's just so nuts because there's a path, right? You can see this path where he can certainly be in New York City. He could hear his name called, right? And I think that's the thing is like he's got the experience, he's got the exposure, he's got the opportunity with the way that this schedule sets up, that if his team has success, and he's a big reason why, and we don't have a big reason to not think he would be, but yeah, he is right up there. He's a top 5 pick. He's a Heisman finalist, could be a Heisman winner. And it's just nuts when you think back to last year, and how quickly things can change. But we saw it with Paul Skeens this year, right? I mean, why not? Alignment, and the stars aligning and everything working out in their favor. I mean, it can happen. And so as far as his legacy, he has really untapped potential to solidify that. And, it's not going to be Joe Burrow-esque, right? It's hard when the mountaintop is in your own backyard, but I certainly think he could do stupendous things for himself and this university.
August is for us to opine on what we'd love to see or what changes we'd like to make from last year. And every year we'd talk about Les's team. Well, maybe this is the year they got these receivers. They might be able to get the passing game going. They might get it to the tight end. And inevitably, it just kind of looked the same. Although they never promised anything different in the Les era. We've heard Brian Kelly multiple times say, yeah, Jaden's got to throw it down the field a little bit more. Do you expect Jaden to throw it down the field a little bit more?
Man, that floored me last year, right? Because what coach, you just joked about how long I've been doing this. I never hear him say, you got to put the ball in danger.
Yeah.
Come on, son, let it rip. You may think it and you may want it, but then to have the head man actually vocalize or verbalize, take your pick. To put that out there was something. And so, yeah, I do think you're going to see it. And I think it makes a lot of sense as to why we should expect it, right? I mean, think about Jaden, third offensive coordinator in 3 years, I think, for him last year. New team, trying to just play his part, do his role, new offensive line. ball security being an issue, something that we talked about, rewind the clock to what, May or whatever it was of last preseason. And isn't that what we were talking about? His penchant for turning the ball over at Arizona State and really not being, as accurate, right? Accuracy issues were the big hammer point, I guess, with Jaden before he ever got to campus and started throwing a ball for the LSU Tigers. So, it made a lot of sense. But now I think the comfort level that he has, the skill that he has around him, at different levels of the receiving tree, I think it does open it up for him. Now, can the line protect? You're going to have a good test right out of the gates, but I think the schedule also builds in a way that allows them to be more aggressive. And I think he will be because his comfort level's higher too.
What do you have coming up on Channel 2?
Man, I'm going to talk a little bit about the receivers, a little bit about what we talked about early in this segment, just for the receivers cooking the DBs, and then the running back room. Just, a lot of different options, right? Certainly it was striking to see, 2 running backs at spring practice.
Yeah.
Well, that is not the case now. They certainly have the depth that they lacked, and how do they get them all involved? I think is going to be the big question. And who emerges and kind of who plays second fiddle. So there's a lot of different weapons, from the tight ends, even the freshman tight ends, looking impressive. I think those receivers are legit. I think you've got some skill there. It helps having the offensive line return. Hunt, here's something that we don't talk about at all. Is just both coordinators are back.
Yeah.
And
finally.
that might be a bigger issue than any of us are making out to be.
First time since 19, and they added Brady that year, but Ensminger was still the OC. So it's been a minute since they were able to retain both coordinators. Something to be said for continuity for sure. Cobble, thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
That is Michael Cobble, WBRZ, Channel 2 here in Baton Rouge. Talking about the running back room and the depth there, I guess I can't definitively say it. I would like to definitively say it, but I can't. I think this is the most scholarship running backs I've ever seen. I think. I can't recall a time where they had more than this. It is ridiculous how many running backs are on this team. I mean, Trey Bradford's back. Armani Goodwin's there. Still got Kane. Emery's back all of a sudden. You brought in Diggs. 2 freshmen come in. I mention Josh Williams. It's like 100 of them. You could run them all 5 carries and run the ball a lot in a game. It's a lot of dudes, and inevitably, things happen over the course of a season, and sometimes guys go down, sometimes guys step up, but they got options at running back. That is for sure. So thanks to Cobble for jumping aboard and kicking off hour number 2. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by today. Come back, we'll meet a couple freshmen.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up and down on my last dime.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call Hudco Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch.
Charles Sandiger joined Jimmy Ott and myself for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Brewley. Short drive over the bridge. We're recapping the weekend and week 2 of LSU camp. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
National news of the day is the disintegration of the Pac-12, basically. We'll get to that in 15 minutes here as Washington and Oregon are bolting. Arizona's out, and they're going to bring Arizona State and Utah with them in all likelihood. So I'll talk about that a little bit coming up at 2:30. But as we've been doing day after day after day, and will do through in about another week and a half, it's time to meet the freshmen.
Meet the freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
We're going to stick with 2 at the same position in today's edition of Meet the Freshmen. And we start with a Louisiana product from down in Belrose, and that is Kai Preen. He is a wide receiver, 6 foot 202. As I mentioned, from Belrose, finished up at St. James after a couple years at Ascension Catholic. Really, really strong senior year. Turned him into a consensus 4-star wide receiver. 24/7's got him as the number 18 wide receiver in the country. Last year, he caught 61 passes for 1,000 yards and 14 touchdowns. Averaged 18 yards a catch and led St. James to the semis last year. Obviously, really big-time production from Preen last year at St. James. But also, he's got some insane measurables. At 202 pounds, you're talking about a guy that clocked a 10.900 and a 21.7 200, which is really, really good. He got second in the 100 last year or 2 years ago in the 2021 LHSAA outdoor meet. He was second in the 200 as well. Like, he's a ridiculous athlete. And the comps come to mind for me because he's from St. James, and the John Trey Kirkland stuff flashes to me because they're just such amazing athletes. When Kai Preen committed, I kind of thought there was a chance he would play defensive back. Such a good athlete, got a big frame, but I don't know. 200 pounds is a big dude. As I mentioned, he's 4-star by all the services, and he was rated as an athlete by just about everyone. And Auburn was in the mix, Mississippi State was in the mix, Tennessee, Michigan, a lot of teams in the mix there. But he's playing wide receiver, and that is a jam-packed room. So at this point, you've got Malik Neighbors, you've got Brian Thomas, you've got Kyron Lacy. Those 3 guys will likely move on after next year. So that frees some space up for all these wide receiver signees that are coming in. But I don't know that there's just a lot of room this year. Aaron Anderson is very much in the mix there. Shelton Sampson certainly looks the part as a big physical wide receiver. So I'm not sure where he fits in this year. Next year, it's like a free-for-all. In the spring and the fall, you should have a lot of guys competing for reps at the top of the wide receiver food chain. But like we were talking about with Cobble in the last segment, I mean, like Malik Neighbors was just cooking people yesterday. I mean, it was just no contest on some routes out there one-on-one. And it's built for that. There's no help on the inside. There's no help over the top. There's no pass rush. The DBs are at a massive disadvantage in those drills we were watching yesterday, but some of the top-end LSU receivers were eaten yesterday. And so it's hard to imagine some of the younger players busting through. And I would put Kai Prian in that discussion, but he is unquestionably a super athlete to have those kind of track accomplishments in LSU and to be that size already. I mean, a lot of wide receivers come in at 175, 180 pounds. He comes in north of 200 pounds with that kind of speed. He's a really, really good athlete. The second guy that we're going to meet today is freshman Kyle Parker, 5'11", 195 from Allen, Texas. This is a guy who was a consensus 4-star product, one of the best in the state of Texas. Not necessarily as highly thought of as a guy like Shelton Sampson, but I think that's because of measurables. You look at 5'11", 194, and it doesn't jump out at you. What does jump out at me about Kyle Parker when you turn on film and you look at some of the YouTube videos of him, he's a technician. Like, he's a guy who is going to run the route the proper way. I guess you could say there's 3 types of receivers you're scouting at the high school level. There are guys that are so freakishly athletic and so fast that they just make high school kids look so dumb, running go routes, catching screens, running punts back, and like they're just freakishly gifted athletically, and that's why they dominate in high school. Then there are guys who may not have all the measurables, all the speed, all the height, but they run routes the right way. When you get guys that are both, like when I looked at Jamar Chase, and I saw him north of 6 feet, and he kind of filled out, and he looked like he knew it. Like that's pretty rare. You see that guy enter into college. But Kyle Parker falls into the category of technician. He's got the footwork. He knows how to get off a jam. He knows how to run routes. He sinks into his hips and comes out of breaks. Like, you can just see he knows what he's doing. And his offer list wasn't massive. It was Louisville, Oklahoma State, SMU, but still, you're looking at a 4-star across the board, and you're looking at a top 100 wide receiver across the board, top 50 wide receiver across the board. So Texas offered him late in the process. This is a guy that was going to come to LSU, and I think he's got a chance to get some reps. They may come late in the season. As I mentioned, Neighbors, Kyron Lacy, Brian Thomas, Chris Hilton, Andre Anderson. All these guys are older, and in all the cases except for Anderson have played. You factor in LSU's tight end room that's going to be utilized this year, so you're not going to have a lot of 5-wide opportunities because they're going to put Mason Taylor out there. Like, it may be tough, but I like him. We talked about Jaylen Brown a couple of days ago. Speed burner. I mean, the fastest guy in this class. We'll talk about Shelton Sampson down the road. You know him from here in Baton Rouge. He's got the height and the measurables and the vertical and all that. But in terms of knowing how to play the position and not having to be taught to get off physical jams from college players, which, I mean, there's some teaching that's got to go on, obviously. He's not a finished product. But he's further along than most freshmen are when you look at Kyle Parker. So incredibly productive in high school. Just made a boatload of catches and had a boatload of yards for Lovejoy High School, which I kind of like the name of that. But went over 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns in a season. Was a punt returner and a kick returner for them. 19 total touchdowns in the state of Texas, playing high-level football. This is a guy who I like in this class. Unfortunately, when I look at a receiver class that comes in with this much acclaim and this many numbers, you start to look at it and go, that's probably not going to hold up. It was like the class from 2 years ago, where you've still got Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and Chris Hilton, but Jack Besh is gone and Deion Smith is gone, and that's just kind of the way it goes. And that's probably the way it goes. I hate to even say that. It's like, oh, you're kicking them out of school before they even playing a game. But, like, are you going to keep 5 4-star and 5-star wide receivers around for 4 or 5 years? Like, probably not. But you just keep reloading them, keep funneling them in, keep funneling them in, and that way you don't have to necessarily plug holes from the transfer portal. Yeah, you maybe bring in Andre Anderson, and that's good. But you're going to have, once this group leaves, this Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors group leaves, once Kyron Lacey leaves, like, you've still got guys who aren't going to be freshmen that should be ready to step in. And I think Kyle Parker and Kai Prian are both ticketed for a role like that, which is a comforting thing, I think, for this staff. We'll see how much they impact this year, but certainly guys down the road that should help, and very, very talented players. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get them by the drive-thru. Government between Foster and Jefferson. They've got delicious jumbo Gulf shrimp, fantastically crispy and great flavor. Got awesome fried catfish as well. One of my favorite things about Corks is even if you go through the drive-thru and it's in the styrofoam, and we know in this era of delivery and like drive-thru stuff that like things get soggy. Corks food doesn't. They got the crispy shoestring fries, which I love, and get you any of your sauces. They got the tartar sauce, got cocktail sauce. They got their special Cork sauce as well. It's not just fish and shrimp. They've got salads. They've got baked potatoes. They've got etouffee. It's not your standard drive-through restaurant. It's quick service, but it is excellent, high-quality food from the folks that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue across the river, the Medinka brothers. When you get on by Corks, tell them you heard about it on the Hunt Palmer Show. We certainly do appreciate that. All right, news of the day. There's big news out west. Pac-12, RIP. We'll talk about it next.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. LSU back on the practice field. It's day 2 of fall camp. We'll have a camp report. And the Saints are back on the practice field. Join us Friday, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So the blessing and the curse of my job here is that everything that I say is recorded. So inevitably, you can go back, whether it's on YouTube, or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, 1045ESPN.com. Inevitably, if I say something that doesn't age very well, you can go find it. Just the nature of the beast. And some things that you say age very well, and some things that you say age atrociously. Let me take you back 13 days. Not weeks, not years, 13 days ago. This is George Kliavkov, the commissioner of the Pac-12 Conference.
It's not a concern. Our schools are committed to each other and to the Pac-12. We'll get our media rights deal done. We'll announce the deal. I think the realignment that's going on in college athletics will come to an end for this cycle. And then the truth is we've got bigger fish to fry. You know, there are incredible opportunities and also challenges in front of college athletics. And I need to be able to work with all of my colleagues in Division I and particularly in the A5. And we'll do that. And we'll move past, you know, kind of all the bitter squabbling of the last year, and we'll work together to make college athletics better.
Holy moly. Holy moly. 13 days after he said all the schools are committed, and quite frankly, we've got bigger fish to fry. Washington is gone to the Big Ten. Oregon is gone to the Big Ten, and Arizona is gone to the Big 12. And oh, by the way, they're probably going to take Arizona State, who shares a Board of Regents with them, and Utah with them. And I've got some good news for George, who says he's got bigger fish to fry. You can spend a bunch of time frying fish because you're not running a conference anymore because it doesn't exist. Now, we're having a little bit of fun with that. And the reality is, he can't go up to Pac-12 Media Days and say, you know what? I think we got about 2 weeks left. Oregon's probably going to leave. You know, Washington's going to go with them. And we can't really compete with the Big Ten. So hopefully Arizona sticks around. We might be able to add Boise State or something. You know, we'll see what we can do. You can't say that. You can't go up there and be like, yeah, we're toast. Sorry. You got to present some sort of front there at Pac-12 Media Days. But don't slip in, I got bigger fish to fry. The only fish you have to fry is keeping the league together. And the only way you do that is to get a TV deal done. Couldn't do it. ESPN, ABC, Disney, Fox, NBC, Apple, Nothing. And all the while, all these schools are sitting there going, hey, George, the two schools in the second biggest media market in the country left. What are we supposed to do? Well, we got bigger fish to fry. There are no fish left, George. You got Washington State and Oregon State left. What a day. It's tough for me to imagine a scenario where the Pac-12 just doesn't exist. Well, it was like 3 days ago. Now it's not because it's reality. 2024 starts. USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Arizona are gone. So is Colorado. And the inclination is that Stanford and Cal, although I don't know what Cal brings, are going to head to the Big Ten as well. And at that point, you literally only have, once Utah and Arizona State go with Arizona, Oregon State and Washington State. And the Pac-12 just doesn't exist anymore. And Oregon State and Washington State have to jump into the Mountain West. And I had to, quite frankly, I think you would agree as the listener that I pay a fair amount of attention to college athletics. I think that's a fair thing to say. I don't know if you would call me an expert. I don't think you would, but I do pay attention. I'm not sure I could have definitely named 7 Mountain West schools. So I pulled it up, and I have it. Boise State, Air Force, Fresno State, San Diego State, Wyoming, Colorado State, San Jose State, Nevada, Utah State, Hawaii, UNLV, and New Mexico. And that's probably where Oregon State and Washington State are headed. And again, I will reiterate what I said 2 days ago. Same thing. I'm an LSU guy. I cover LSU. I went to LSU. I pull for LSU. That's really that's what my world centers around in terms of collegiate athletics. And LSU is going to be just fine. And the fact that LSU is going to play Texas and Oklahoma and Florida and Auburn and Bama, they're going to play A&M and Tennessee, and they'll get to the playoffs, expanded, whatever. They'll play Ohio State and Clemson, and they'll play USC, and they'll play Penn State, and that's going to be awesome. It's going to be great for LSU, and that's great. As I said 2 days ago, my kid is going to grow up in that era, and that'll be all he knows. He won't know about the Pac-10 or the Pac-12. I don't think he'd care about he won't know about the BCS. Like he'll grow up in that world, and it'll be great for LSU fans, and that's what matters most. I want to lead with that, but I can still take a step back from that, look at a bigger picture at other places, and say, man, that is so brutal for Washington State and Oregon State. Because you just went from playing USC and Oregon and UCLA and Stanford and all these sports and having a chance to play in the Rose Bowl if you have a great season, which they've accomplished. And now, guess who's coming to town in the middle of October? UNLV. Who's that conference opener this year? Here comes San Jose State right out of the tunnel in Corvallis. I went a step further because I was talking about this with some buddies before I went on air, and I was like, man, their athletic programs are just done. They're done. And one of my buddies said, no, Oregon State's baseball team will be okay. And I said, really? You think so? Ask Fullerton how it feels when everybody in the Southeast has money and you don't. Ask Long Beach State how it feels when everybody in the Southeast has money and you don't. Ask Wichita State how it feels when everybody in the Southeast and East Coast has money and you don't. Those baseball programs were powers. When LSU was going to Omaha all the time, y'all were watching. They don't have enough money. Tennessee's good now. Auburn went to Omaha last year. So did A&M. And I'm not suggesting those programs have always been terrible, but like the point being like the money wins. I went and looked up the Mountain West Grant of Rights Agreement. Look, we got years to talk about what this means for LSU. Just for this day, I'm going to pay attention to what this means for Oregon State and Washington State. Because I looked at, there's a message board post who goes to message boards and posts them on Twitter. There are Oregon State fans saying this is the worst day of my life. And while that is only meant in a sports term, in reality, it is. Their athletic programs just died. The Mountain West announced a new 6-year media rights deal with CBS and Fox Sports back in 2021 that pays each member school, wait for it, Big 12, is it 21 million? Big 10's over 50, going towards 75. SEC, same thing. The Mountain West, each school receives $4 million a year. Their athletic departments just got a $20 million budget reduction. Like that. $20 million. And that's not Oregon's fault. It's not Washington's fault. It's not USC's fault. It's not UCLA's fault. They have to keep up, and they have the means to do it. They're desirable. They had an option. They took it. Washington State and Oregon State aren't along for the ride. So you're trying to tell me that Oregon State's baseball program is going to get allocated enough funds to keep up? When instead of going to play Stanford in Palo Alto and having UCLA come up there, they got Wyoming coming in for a 3-game set? They're traveling to New Mexico to play the Lobos? Toast. See ya. Party's over. You can still wear your school colors and go to work on Friday. You can show up for the games if you want. Your athletic programs are done. And again, this doesn't mean anything to you, the LSU fan. We're still going to have massive football games. We're still going to play for national championships and win them, and it's going to be great for us because this thing is going to shrink down, and you're going to even, and this is what Matt's been on, you're not even going to have to watch LSU play Rice and North Texas anymore in football. We will eventually get to the point where it's just big boy games, and that'll be great for us. And I realize that fully. I'm fully aware of what's going on and that LSU is completely unaffected, and in fact, it may enhance the situation. But I can still look back and say, man, what a gut punch that would be. I often talk about professional teams and when they relocate, like what that would be like. How big a gut punch, because sports matters to people. We're emotional about it. We're passionate about it. Like, it matters. And if the Saints left after Katrina and went to San Antonio or wherever, like, how awful would that be? And this isn't to that level because Oregon State's still there and Washington State's still there. They can still go to games and whatnot, but it's over. It's over. And old George there, who had bigger fish to fry, is going to rue those words the rest of his life. This happened so fast to me. I'm sure the people that have been working on it and looking at it have felt like it's been drawn out at times. But when you're outside of it and all of a sudden announcements start rolling, man, is it powerful. And we just watched one of the most powerful, literally called the Power Five, one of the most powerful brands in collegiate athletics evaporate in 24 hours. It's amazing to have watched that development. We'll see what it means for LSU. We talked to Brendan Sonnone and early in the first hour about Florida State and what they're trying to do and what the ACC can do because they've locked themselves in jail basically with their grant of rights agreement, and they're going to continue to fall further and further and further behind the big boys. And the new Big Ten commissioners, put his first stamp on the conference, adding these 2 teams at this point. And obviously Greg Sankey has a big a spot at the table as anybody and has kept the SEC at the forefront. But those who are getting left behind, it's happening quick. And I often say, I don't really care about the little guy once we get into playing games. And I don't. I pull for a big guy. I pay attention to a big guy. I don't have to care about the little guys. But we're not playing games right now. We're sitting back here and watching this all happen. I haven't watched a snap of Washington State football in maybe 20 years. I don't ever watch Washington State play. But I can sit back here on August 4th while they're running around cones out there at LSU's camp and go, man, that sucks. It does. Feel for them. But it's just That's where we're headed. Money talks. People are chasing the money, and inevitably it wins, and it did today. And the Pac-12 is going to be toast. Got one more segment to go here this week on a Friday. Our Friday show is brought to you by Court Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We will play some Take It or Leave It. Get on down the road. Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Been telling you about Champions of Louisiana for a year and a half now, courtesy of LWCC. And Corey Barr, certainly a champion of Louisiana. Rose to great heights in the culinary world on the Food Network, beat Bobby Flay, Food Network's next star. But he comes back home to Monroe, and he operates 3 businesses there. Stimulates their economy, feels a sense of home and purpose, and it's important to him to be a Louisianian and to come home to Louisiana. That's why he's a champion of Louisiana. There are a lot of people in our great state doing great things, but maybe we don't pay as much attention as we should. LWCC is gearing to change that. That's why they've created their Champions of Louisiana campaign, and you can jump right on in. Go to lwcc.com/champions. You can look at all the great champions of Louisiana and all the great work that they're doing, and you can nominate a champion of Louisiana. Could be entrepreneur like Corey, could be a nonprofit that's doing great philanthropic work, maybe a business. We can tell their story. Nominate them at lwcc.com, and we'll be right here waiting on them. Corey Barr is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
Sandiger joined Jimmy Ott and myself for the next edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Bruley. Short drive over the bridge. We're recapping the weekend and week 2 of LSU camp. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You thought this day sucked for Oregon State and Washington State because their whole athletic program went up in flames. Think about me. The Cubs are down 7-0 at home to the Braves. It's a tough day for me. I'll get through it. Let's play Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Actor Mark Margolin died at 83. He played Tio Salamanca in Breaking Bad. Tio was the greatest non-speaking character in TV history. Take it or leave it.
I don't know anymore.
Tom and Jerry?
I mean, he was better than them. But that's
it's like one of the most. That's like the most classic.
Yeah, but it's a cartoon. I don't give a darn. This was
Okay.
real person acting. I mean, look, I'm not a TV guy. Everyone knows that. I'm not a movie guy. I did watch Breaking Bad. I actually rewatched it during COVID because I loved it so much. Tio was a dog. I'm not giving you any spoilers here, but the guy did not say he was incapable of speaking and had one of the most powerful scenes I've ever seen. He was incredible. And I've heard, who's the, I'll think of it in a second, the creator of Breaking Bad.
Gilligan?
Yeah.
Vince, I think.
Vince Gilligan? Yeah, Vince Gilligan. I heard a podcast he did with like Rich Eisen. He was like, this guy was like a powerhouse. And he was. To have that kind of an impact without saying a single word was incredible. So, yeah, I will take that.
I'll take it. Max Scherzer won his first start with the Rangers, struck out 9 in the process. The Rangers are legit contenders in the AL. Take it or leave it.
You got to take that. I mean, at this point in the season, being where they are. They've spent a bunch of money. You know, DeGrom goes down, and they still find a way to scratch and claw. I love that. I love ownerships that are committed to spending money and winning. And it hasn't worked for the Padres, and it hasn't been great for the Yankees, and it hasn't worked for some of the teams that are way invested. The Mets just had to get blown up. But I just go spend, go get it done. And they found a way to do that. And they've got a chance to edge the Astros. I think everybody's going to say the Astros have the pedigree, they're the team. And I said that, I think, earlier this week. But they're certainly a contender. There's no doubt about that.
With the seemingly inevitable demise of the Pac-12, college football is headed for a single mega conference / single league similar to the NFL. Take it or leave it.
Similar, yeah, I'll take it. I think that's a little complicated with the ACC and the Big 12 right now, and we'll see what that looks like eventually. I don't think it goes into one. But the regional thing is pretty much toast. I mean, you look at Rutgers and UCLA sharing a conference with Oregon. Like that's throwing regional talk out the window. And so we've talked about this now for over a year that we are headed that direction for sure. And today was a huge step. If you're just getting out of work or something and getting in the car and have no idea what I'm talking about, today in the Pac-12, which I just spent the whole last segment on, Washington and Oregon are leaving for the Big Ten, and Arizona is headed with Colorado to the Big 12. So Pac-12 is toast.
All right, last one here. You can make it through a solo dad weekend. Take it or leave it.
Man. Wife left on a jet plane this morning, left the house at 4 a.m., and I'm with the Myers man until a little afternoon on Sunday. So
you can do it, huh?
We'll see how it goes. We're going to make something happen tomorrow. I think we're going to drive down to New Orleans and get a little pool time at my cousin's, try to knock some time out there. Going to get a heavy nap schedule in. I'm prepared. We're going to make this work. We just don't need any real situations.
Yep.
We don't need like a breakdown in the middle of the night. We don't need any sort of like, bodily issues. We just gotta keep it simple. And if we can do that, I can handle the playing and the dinner and the cleanup and the bath and the getting him down. We just don't need. Mom's the nurse, so she does the medicine. She does the suctioning the nose and she does all that. So we can make it. I think we can do it. But we'll report back on Monday on how solo dad weekend goes. It cranks up here. I get to go to the grocery store, which I can get everything kind of together there, and then I'm gonna go pick him up, and we'll see if we can make it through. If you are in the Garden District, you'll probably see me walking around with him in a stroller, drinking a cold beer a little bit later. That'll kind of be how we wind down the evening. But I don't know that I've done this for a whole weekend before. But Mom's got to go see Taylor Swift tonight. We had a crisis, by the way. Some of you guys, and there are plenty of girls listening as well, but I think more so guys that have wives or girlfriends that have gone to see Taylor Swift during this tour that's taken over the world. One of the things that they're doing is friendship bracelets. And you make these bracelets with people's names on them, and you like exchange them at the concerts. It's a little much for me. Alyssa spent 2.5 hours making friendship bracelets last night and then left them on the counter this morning. Devastating discovery for her when she got to LA this morning. But what are you going to do? The cat was playing with them earlier today, which would not be good. That's it for a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by Corks today. A lot to talk about. Kamara suspension, Cam Jordan contract, Pac-12 realignment. All that stuff is coming up when Matt joins you to drive you home on After Further View. We'll see you Monday, same time, same place, Hunt Palmer Show.